Why do some people rise despite adversity, while others crumble under pressure? Why do we watch dreams decay, not because of lack of talent, but because of a broken mindset? And most importantly, what if the real enemy isn't the world, but the war inside your own head? Before we dive in, if you're someone who wants to grow stronger mentally, emotionally, and spiritually, subscribe to the channel. This is where we unmask illusions and rebuild strength from within. Failure isn't just about bad luck or circumstances. It's about invisible habits and inner narratives. Today, we dissect the traps that keep most people stuck and the Stoic-driven mindset that can set you free.
1. The comfort trap, seduced by ease. Most people fail because they choose comfort over growth. Modern life rewards convenience, and over time, it softens the mind. The Stoics warned us, what's easy often corrupts the soul. In a world engineered to eliminate friction, from instant delivery to curated entertainment, our tolerance for discomfort plummets. But without discomfort, there is no challenge, and without challenge, no refinement of character. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "The impediment to action advances action. What stands in the way becomes the way. The obstacle is not an enemy, it is a forge." When you stop challenging yourself, you stop evolving. Comfort breeds entitlement, procrastination, and a fear of pain. But life is pain, growth is pain. The wise embrace that truth. To the Stoics, pain wasn't something to avoid, but a signal, a calling to rise. Seneca taught that difficulty strengthens the mind as labor does the body. If you avoid hard things, you remain weak. Your potential rusts while your dreams decay. The pursuit of ease creates dependency on external conditions, leaving you fragile in a world that will not always be gentle. Comfort is subtle. It doesn't scream, it whispers. It tells you you've done enough when you've barely begun. It convinces you that tomorrow is a better day to begin changing. It feeds you lies wrapped in pleasant feelings. But the harsh truth is that what feels good in the moment often robs you of what's meaningful in the long term. The body that avoids the gym, the mind that avoids challenges, the soul that avoids discipline, each withers under the illusion of safety. Success is forged through friction, not pleasure. So ask yourself daily, not what do I feel like doing, but what must I do regardless of how I feel? That is the Stoic lens. Discipline isn't about punishment, it's about alignment with your higher self. The question isn't whether the task is enjoyable, it's whether it's necessary. Every time you act against what's easy in favor of what's right, you sharpen your will. You develop an inner edge, and in a soft world, that edge is power. Comfort seduces with 1,000 options, entertainment, distraction, indulgence, but none of these build a soul capable of enduring life's storms. Growth lives in the rep you don't want to do, the conversation you fear having, the project you keep delaying. Rejecting comfort isn't about asceticism or masochism, it's about freedom. It's about being stronger than your urges, clearer than your distractions, and more loyal to your values than your feelings. So be brutal in your honesty. Where have you let ease dictate your path? What potential have you traded for temporary pleasure? The Stoic doesn't seek comfort, they seek clarity. And clarity often comes through the fire of discipline, not the lull of indulgence. Choose the hard path, not because it hurts, but because it heals.
2. The excuse loop, blaming versus owning. Excuses are seductive because they protect the ego, but they're poison to progress. People fail because they build narratives that shield them from responsibility. These narratives feel comforting because they keep failure external. It wasn't my fault. But comfort isn't growth. Excuses keep you stagnant. They build walls between you and what you're capable of. The Stoic knows that the moment you blame the world, you give away your power to change your life. It's too late. I'm too tired. They have it easier than me. These are traps of the weak-willed. Epictetus taught that we cannot control external events, but we are fully in command of our judgments and responses. The only thing truly ours is our faculty of choice, our inner response. Every time you choose to blame others, you reject this divine faculty. You become a slave, not to people, but to your own passivity. The mature soul says, yes, life is unfair, and still I will respond with strength. Blame is a crutch. It feels good in the short term, but it weakens you over time. When you blame others, you trick yourself into thinking you're powerless. And powerless people don't act, they complain. The Stoics didn't complain. They transformed adversity into fuel. Instead of asking why something happened to them, they asked how they could grow through it. They recentered the locus of control within the self, not the world. Accountability is the antidote. When you own your life entirely, no one else to blame, no excuses to hide behind, you unlock grit. You stop reacting and start rebuilding. You realize that nothing changes until you do. That's a terrifying truth for many because it leaves no place to hide. But it's also the most empowering realization. You are the problem and the solution. The Stoic doesn't whine about fate. They understand that while fate writes the script, you control how the role is played. Excuses are for those who want sympathy. Ownership is for those who want strength. The former feeds your victimhood. The latter fuels your resilience. The more responsibility you take, the more capable you become. Every excuse removed is a layer of weakness peeled back. If you find yourself repeating the same stories, "I'm just not built for this," or "if only I had more support," pause and ask, what am I avoiding? What am I refusing to accept ownership of? The truth is, your progress begins where your excuses end. Burn the script, write a new one where you're not the victim, but the author.
3. Emotional hijack. Feelings over discipline. Most people obey their emotions as if they are orders. Feel fear, they run. Feel tired, they stop. Feel uncertain, they freeze. But Stoicism teaches us to observe our emotions, not obey them. Emotions are natural. They are signals, not shackles. They arise from perceptions, which means they can be questioned, reframed, and transcended. The Stoic mind doesn't suppress feeling, it interrogates it. Is this fear justified? Is this anger useful? Is this sadness aligned with my principles? Discipline means you keep going regardless of how you feel. It's not that you become emotionless, it's that you stop letting emotions dictate your destiny. The Stoic sees emotions like the weather, real but not ultimate. Just as a storm doesn't stop the sailor, sadness doesn't stop the Stoic. They adjust their sails, they don't abandon the ship. Discipline is not the absence of emotion, but the triumph of reason over impulse. Grit isn't natural talent, it's emotional regulation. It's rising when everything inside screams to give up. That's how you dominate failure, by mastering the inner storm. Marcus Aurelius battled depression and fatigue, yet wrote daily reminders to himself. Get up, you were born to do this. He didn't wait to feel motivated. He acted because his purpose was greater than his pain. That is the spirit of Stoicism.
Not feeling your way into action, but acting your way into strength. We live in a culture that idolizes feelings. Follow your heart, trust your vibe. But the Stoics knew that feelings are fickle, transient, and often misleading. Courage is doing what's right even when your heart pounds with fear. Discipline is doing what's necessary even when your body aches. Wisdom is choosing what's best even when your feelings scream otherwise. Emotions are advisors, not rulers. So next time you feel overwhelmed, anxious, or unmotivated, pause. Don't react. Observe. Ask yourself, is this emotion serving me or sabotaging me? Remember, the goal is not to feel nothing, but to master everything. Stoicism gives you that gift, not by numbing your heart, but by training your will. You are not your feelings. You are the one who decides what to do with them.
4. The comparison trap, measuring by others. Another killer of potential is comparison. Most people fail not because they're incapable, but because they measure their journey against someone else's highlight reel. In today's hyper-connected world, this trap is more dangerous than ever. Social media feeds us an endless loop of curated perfection, vacations, achievements, filtered smiles, all designed to showcase success, but rarely the full story. People forget they're comparing their raw behind-the-scenes footage to someone else's polished performance. That distortion creates insecurity. The danger is subtle. Comparison doesn't just make you feel less than, it makes you question your path altogether, even when it's working. The Stoics remind us, what others do is not your concern. Your only job is to live in accordance with your values, your virtues, and your direction. Epictetus was clear, focus only on what is within your control. What someone else has, how fast they're progressing, or how loudly they're celebrated is none of your business. Once you shift your gaze away from your own inner progress and toward external benchmarks, you give away your agency. The Stoic path demands a radical responsibility, not for outcomes, but for your own alignment. And that means ignoring the noise of comparison. When you compare, you lose presence, you lose progress, you drift, you forget who you are. Grit comes from anchoring yourself to your own principles, not someone else's results. The moment you start chasing someone else's definition of success, you abandon your own. Comparison seduces you with the illusion of clarity. It whispers, look how far behind you are. But what it really does is steal your ability to appreciate your current chapter. Progress is invisible in the moment. It requires patience, internal markers, and self-trust. When you know what you value, you can define success for yourself and walk with confidence even when it's slow, quiet, and unseen. The comparison trap is also a trap of assumptions. You assume others have it easier, faster, or better, but you don't see their silent battles. You don't see the nights they doubted themselves, the cost of their choices, or the weight of their pressure. The Stoics would call this a waste of energy, energy that should be spent fortifying your soul, not envying someone else's illusion. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "It is not death that a man should fear, but never beginning to live." Similarly, it's not being behind that you should fear, but never discovering your own rhythm, your own truth, your own potential. To free yourself from comparison, build inner standards. What does excellence look like for you? What does it mean to live with integrity? Who are you becoming regardless of who's watching? These are the questions that forge resilience. Your greatest competition is not another person. It's the version of you that stays stuck, distracted, or divided. Real growth happens when you measure yourself not by what others have achieved, but by whether you're living in alignment today more than you were yesterday. That's the Stoic scoreboard: internal, honest, and resilient.
5. No inner philosophy. Living without a code. Finally, most people fail because they live without a philosophy. They drift through life reacting to whatever comes their way with no inner compass. Without a personal philosophy, every hardship feels like chaos, every rejection like failure, and every decision like a shot in the dark. Most people aren't weak, they're just unanchored. They've never taken the time to sit with themselves and ask, what do I believe in? What do I stand for when everything falls apart? Philosophy isn't about lofty theories, it's about survival. It's the art of knowing how to live, and without it, you're tossed around by every storm. But the Stoic path is about intentional living. It's about knowing who you are, what you stand for, and what hill you're willing to die on. When you adopt Stoic principles, you stop living on autopilot. You stop letting your moods, circumstances, and past wounds dictate your behavior. You start living from a center. That center isn't built in a day. It's forged through reflection, trial, and practice. Seneca said, "If a man knows not to which port he sails, no wind is favorable." Philosophy gives you a port. It helps you choose your direction, not just when the sea is calm, but especially when it rages. Philosophy gives you backbone. It gives you clarity when life is chaos. If you don't build a personal code, the world will write one for you, and you won't like how it ends. Without a code, you become a sponge for every opinion, trend, and distraction. You bend to pressure. You silence your instincts. You say yes when you mean no, and you chase approval instead of purpose. Your code is your armor. It's what allows you to walk into any room, any relationship, any battle, knowing who you are and what you won't compromise. Without it, life dictates your identity. With it, you shape your destiny. Living without a philosophy also creates a crisis of meaning. You may have goals, but no principles. You may achieve things, but feel empty. That's because action without reflection is hollow. Stoicism teaches you to align your actions with your values, to be the same person in public and in private, in victory and in defeat. Your code becomes your compass. It tells you when to speak up, when to walk away, when to persist, and when to surrender. It's not rigid, it evolves, but it's deliberate, and that deliberateness is what gives life dignity. In a noisy, chaotic world, philosophy is your silence. It's your reset button. When life pushes you off course, you don't panic, you return to your principles. When people betray or disappoint you, you don't unravel, you stand firm in your code. Philosophy is the foundation of mental toughness. It trains you to respond instead of react, to endure without bitterness, and to lead yourself even when no one else does. So, ask yourself, what do you believe? What is your code? And if you don't know yet, start building it today, before the world builds one for you.
Failure isn't mysterious, it's predictable. It's the result of daily decisions made in comfort, fear, and distraction. But so is success. You don't need to be extraordinary, you need to be committed. You don't need to be fearless, you need to act despite fear. You don't need to know the whole path, you just need to take the next disciplined step. If you got value from this, hit the subscribe button. This channel is about one thing, mastering yourself to master your life. Because in the end, it's not talent or luck that separates people, it's grit. And grit is built.